It's week 8. Every wide receiver you drafted in fantasy football is dead. You're advancing 3% of your best ball teams. The only thing left for us to do is to win Battle Royale for $50,000 in week 8. We're going to start drafting early in the week, and today we are going to get all the hot tips and hacks that you need to draft super teams early in the week. Let's get after it. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King Summer. It was a little bit of Short King Summer on Monday Night Football with Greg Dortch scoring his first ever NFL touchdown. But let me tell you guys, I've started to look at this Battle Royale slate. I've done a couple drafts. I mean, we are close to generational wealth. There are, I think, some extreme angles to take. And I think, by the way, these angles are going to evaporate by the time that we get to Thursday and Friday. I think that the market is going to settle in a real way. Now, obviously, the results from last week, we don't feel that great. If you did not draft Joe Mixon and Jahmyr Gibbs together with David Njoku, you are not having a particularly great time in Battle Royale. But never to fear. We are not going to fear. We are not going to fret. We are going to get right into it, and we're just going to go ahead and win Battle Royale in week 8 on Underdog Fantasy. They're doing the $7 entry again. Leave a comment below if you are in the BR streets. Do you like the $7? Do you like the $50,000 to first? I sort of feel the way that it works is obviously in a week that I play well, I'm loving it. A week that I play well, I couldn't be any happier about $7 entry, $50,000 to first. And a week I play bad, like last week, I'm not loving it. I am not loving it near as much personally. It used to be, well, I'm playing for the first time in a serious way this year. The way I understand it is that most of the time it is $5. Most of the time it's $5 and it's $30,000 to first. Now, obviously, the thing that's happened is I got some good results. I had a profitable week in week 3 and got about 75-80% of my money back the first 3 weeks of the season, 4 weeks of the season. What's happening now? I just consecutively had my worst weeks back to back in weeks 7 and in weeks 6. What can you do? Now, we have a lot of fascinating stuff going on. So let's just start getting into it. The first thing is Tua is going to be back this week. And that creates just this really interesting dichotomy. We have Tyreek as the wide receiver 5 right now, Devin Achane as the running back 11. Tua against this Cardinals defense is all the way down at quarterback 13. You're going to have to, I think, load up early in the week if you want to load up. Basically, the Dolphins could be the skeleton key to the entire slate. In fact, I think if you made me answer right now, what team is the most important team to know the results of early in the week, it's almost certainly the Miami Dolphins. Justin Herbert just threw for 350 yards against the Cardinals last night. The Cardinals' pass defense has been brutal. The Cardinals' run defense has been brutal. It's just been brutal up and down. But are they going to be a little bit conservative in Tua's first game back? What is going to happen there? Very hard for me to say. I am leaning early. We're drafting these on Tuesdays. I think I want to get a lot of Tyreek. I think I want to be taking some Waddle. I'm actually just going to take Breece Hall here instead of A.J. Brown. I might be done taking A.J. Brown in the first round. I might be done taking A.J. Brown in the first round. It doesn't really have anything to do with him. It more has to do with just the state of the Eagles, man. Hurts does not look particularly good. Kellen Moore does not seem dialed in. The offensive line is not playing well. You also just, let's just be real, you lose a lot of the touchdown expectation compared to a player like Drake London or Stephon Diggs or, the Buccaneers. We're going to have to talk about the Buccaneers stuff, but they get to the 3-yard line and the team just runs. All they do is they get inside the red zone. I absolutely do not hate the Eagles. It's just all Barkley. Barkley is a super premium pick. In fact, I would rather have Barkley. Now, this is interesting. I am going to take, actually, controversial, I'm just going to take Tyreek. I think Tyreek's ADP is going to rise. And I think it will be easier to get Drake London bags. I think it will be easier to get Amon-Ra St. Brown bags later in the week. Whereas I imagine that Tyreek is going to be a riser. Also, that Detroit-Tennessee game, I'm not loving the vibes of that Detroit-Tennessee game. Jameson Williams is suspended. You don't love that. And it just feels like that is just going to be your classic, the Lions win 21-10. Mason Rudolph completes 8 passes in the game. So right now we are set up with Breece Hall and with Tyreek Hill. Another, we're putting a hat on top of a hat. Thought on Adams and Amari Cooper this week. Yeah. So Adams, I think, is sort of the hack this week. Adams is he's going right now as the wide receiver 6. I bet that gets even higher. Now, the other interesting thing is Garrett Wilson is not going to be 100% drafted this week on in these battle royales. So I think you're definitely going to want, a good bit of him. But Adams, I think, leads the team in targets. I think they use this matchup against kind of a hapless Patriots team to get things back on the right track. I mean, obviously they could have won. They could have won that game. The game against the Steelers, things just kind of went against. I've not looked at any props yet. I'm going to do Trey McBride. I'm going to do this Trey McBride correlation. Now, something that has really been it's kind of been owning me is the way that I've been doing tight ends. So last week, 70% of my teams, maybe more, had Bowers, Kelsey, or Kittle, which I think was exploitatively the correct way to play. I mean, Bowers had 9 for 95, just didn't end up scoring a touchdown. I mean, Bowers, we could play that slate an infinite amount of times, and I would do the same thing over again with Bowers. But the issue you have is when David Njoku scores a last-minute garbage time touchdown, that takes your earning expectation way down. I was making money in BRs before that touchdown. In fact, if you remove that touchdown, I think I almost do. Now, this is a tricky spot. Wide receiver drying up pretty quick here. I don't really know if I want to do Tua. I'll probably do Kyler. The running back options, you know what? I'm just gonna do Davante Adams. I'm gonna do Davante Adams, and the running back scrolls are far more interesting. Brian couldn't get his Justin Jefferson prop to finish his streak. It would have lost, and his daughter's softball bat snapped in half during her evaluations. So instead of pushing, wow. Honestly, sick though. The only streak I ever have gotten that far through, I lost because of Josh Allen, and I'm still Still pretty upset about it, to be honest. All right. Oh, guys, I literally just drafted a dead team. No one stopped me. See, that's why you got to get the reps in early in the week. I didn't realize I just drafted a dead team. I have Breece Hall and Davante Adams together. So I just 100%, I just drafted a stone. Well, I guess last week, last week, Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown were on the winner last week. So I'm just repeating what happened last week, although it does mean that I'm now going to have to select Aaron Rodgers on this team, which I really was not planning on doing. That's fine though. All right, at running back, I don't have to take a scroll. I can take whoever I want. I'll give you guys a bold early week prediction. Alvin Kamara in a 39.5 total game. The projections are going to love Alvin Kamara. Like whenever Leone puts his stuff out, Alvin Kamara is going to be one of the biggest risers. He is going to rise like Tony Pollard did last week. He is going to rise like we've seen Chuba Hubbard rise. It doesn't matter. Like Alvin Kamara has one of the best workloads in fantasy football. That's even with now Taysom is probably going to be back this week. Yeah, Kareem Hunt versus Las Vegas obviously is a phenomenal play. I will be smashing in Kareem Hunt this week. I bet Kareem Hunt and Javonte Williams end up being my two highest owned guys. No, it's not good. It's not good to have Breece Hall and Davante Adams together. But Alvin Kamara, I mean, what is he going to get in this game against the Chargers? He's going to get 22 rushes and 6 targets probably. Is there a good running quarterback? There's not really, because I'm not really want to take Richardson. Fields is not on the slate and not starting anymore. So yeah, it's just Rodgers. This would have been a good Fields game. But there we go. We have one dead team: Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Alvin Kamara, Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams, and Trey McBride. Let's go back in and let's find ourselves a non-dead team. I think May and Knicks are maybe a little too fancy for BR. Now, May is probably very good in the 12-mans. Like if you're doing dog bowl stuff, I like that. I think it's probably a smidgen too fancy for the 6-man drafts. And we get pick 3. Yeah, I wonder if we see the first round shake out a little bit. Now, I think Henry and Barkley are locked in. I wonder if we see Breece fall. I wonder if we see AJ Brown fall. It's just, to me, doesn't the first round feel very flat? That's sort of what I think is the first round after the top 3 picks. I think you could make an argument for Mixon 4. I think you could make an argument for Kenneth Walker 4. You could make an argument for Tyreek. You could make an argument for Lamar. It feels like there's a lot left to shake out. Now, here's the deal with Rachaad White being a great scroll. Is the usage was actually terrible. He just kind of ran hot on touchdowns, but he is using. Kamara did not actually request a trade, by the way. He did not request a trade. He specifically tweeted that he did not request a trade. That was fake news. Let's actually look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield and see. Yeah, so Rachaad White played 47% of the snaps, 38% of the rush attempts. Did have super high targets per route run. Did not play at all inside the 5. Has not played at all inside the 5 since week 3. Not playing 100% of the 2-minute drill. Not playing 100%. Yeah, I will not. Ooh. Well, this one might get thrown out. with Mahomes at 1, but I will just go ahead and take Derrick Henry, I guess, because I'm not going to have very much of him. Yeah, waiting at quarterback does seem strong. I mean, now, I suppose it is easy to say that in a week that Jayden Daniels got injured. I mean, Jayden Daniels could basically have ruined that slate last week. Like how many fantasy points did Marcus Mariota get last week? Marcus Mariota fantasy points. I'm gonna guess. So he got 19 fantasy points in that game. Jayden Daniels had 5 fantasy points on the first drive. Daniels could have pretty easily gotten 33 fantasy points, and then we would be looking at Jayden Daniels having wrecked the slate. Well, so I honestly want to do London. And I want to have a good bit of London this week. I wonder if Bijan ends up being. I really wonder if Bijan ends up being the better click this week than Drake London, because what is Tampa Bay's game plan going to be without Godwin and without Evans? What are the Buccaneers ADPs? Maybe these guys are maybe Bucky and Rachaad and Otton are okay scrolls. I don't know. Little interesting. Yeah, I mean Gibbs is going to be a super popular click this week. He is not going to be a faller. And he obviously the runway is totally open for Gibbs and Montgomery to get there together this week. That is certainly true. I think that figuring out how the Lions score points is going to be pretty crucial this week, because they are just going, like, teams are just going to go nuclear against the Titans because the Titans cannot move the ball. What to do? I kind of wanted to take Kareem Hunt on this team. Let's take Stephon Diggs in the Dome against Indianapolis, because I can take Kirk. Well, I don't really want to take Kirk either. Oh, let's correlate. Let's take David and Joke. Oh, well, all right. Guys, I am not having... My fingers are not nimble. My fingers are not nimble right now. I meant to take Njoku. I got auto-drafted. I'm on Ross St. Brown. Pretty brutal. But I was just talking about how the Lions are going to score points, and St. Brown was actually the wide receiver 1 of the slate last week with, I believe, only 21.2 points. Which is not to say, obviously, he is a beneficiary of Jameson Williams suspension. The biggest beneficiary of Jameson Williams suspension is Sam Laporta, who has 6 receptions in his most recent 3 games. Laporta probably a more interesting click this week. So I guess that sets us up on this team to either try and quarterback stack with our tight end, take a naked quarterback. On this team, so I should definitely take Trey McBride here, but I'm not going to. I might do Love and Kraft. I'm going to take Kareem Hunt, who I'm trying to make a point to select this week. Yeah, I don't know if the Laporta gem guys are going to get there, even with the Jameson Williams suspension. He really does just seem like such an afterthought. And who could blame the Lions for making him an afterthought? They are so efficient running the ball. I mean, they are. I got to look this up, but I would wonder if they are one of the few teams in the league that is actually a positive EPA running the ball. They almost certainly have to be close. Rushing offense, expected points. The Lions have added 23.3 points running the ball. So only 12 teams have added more than 10 points on the season. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Like, compare that to passing offense, where 22 teams have added points. In fact, the Lions have added half as many points running the ball. Half as many points running the ball as they have throwing the ball. It's really incredible. All right, so we missed out on what I wanted to do. Jordan Love already went. Well, let's take All right, fuck it. We will do Cade Otton. Someone suggested Cade Otton. We will do Cade Otton and Baker Mayfield. Or maybe Goff. I don't know. But Cade Otton, whoever in the chat suggested Cade Otton, that is another guy who is a lock to rise. Cade Otton is going to go way up. Cade Otton and the Bucs probably matters more in the 12-mans and in salary cap DFS, but boy, are those guys gonna have. I mean, Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan. Yeah, the concern I would have is how there's just gonna be like no volume. I feel, and I think Kirk got taken anyways. No, he didn't. Quarterback 14. Yeah, I mean, if you're taking London, I think you take Kirk. I think we do. We'll do Christian Kirk, or we'll do Christian Kirk. We will do Kirk Cousins and Drake London. And now, why don't we attempt to not do a dead draft? Why don't we attempt to just make all of our picks and not submit a dead team? That feels like it would probably be a pretty good idea. Your EV does get impacted a lot by that. By if you are making dead teams, like if you let's say we have you do 150 in the main BR and you've got 10 dead teams versus all 150 live teams, that's going to impact your EV in a pretty significant way. All right, we have the 5th pick. I really probably am not going to take AJ Brown, so I got to figure out what I want to do. I don't really like Joe Mixon here either, although it is an incredibly good matchup. All right, I think you really do want a top 3 pick this week. This could also be a fairly good week for bypassing, kind of these second round picks entirely. I could definitely see that. Week 8, no Godwin, no Evans, no Metcalf, no JMO. I mean, it does not stop there. We got more guys who are banged up. Like, it is so brutal. I wonder how often Tank Dell gets clicked this week. Rachaad Bateman with an ADP early. I guess Zay Flowers also banged up. All right, I'm gonna put my money. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and what do I even want to do? I'm gonna take Tyreek. I'm gonna take Tyreek again. Tyreek is my early stand. I think he ends up being a huge riser. Feels like Tyreek ends up being. I mean, Tyreek was a first-round pick, first overall pick when Tua was healthy. That was just the way it was. And I'm gonna do. I gotta be honest, guys. I don't love this Joe Mixon thing. He's not playing the passing downs. You know what? I'm taking Brock Bowers. So the deal with Tua coming back is the whole offense has to look different. Tyreek, I don't know if I would call it a sophomore slump. I feel like I blame more of the issues on Bobby Slowick. I don't really see a huge issue with the way CJ Stroud is playing. But anyway, the Joe Mixon stuff. So he is getting targeted, and his targets per route run is good, but no long down and distance, no 2-minute snaps for Joe Mixon. I mean, Mixon has played, his utilization score is better than I thought. Maybe I'm being the fish. Maybe I'm being the fish early in the week, but I also want to get like a gazillion percent Bowers. Bowers does just, although famous last words, I had a bazillion percent. Yeah, the team has said Tua is playing this week. I mean, he did all the press conferences. He said yesterday, he's like, oh, I'm not going to wear the Guardian cap. I know people want me to retire, yada, yada, so on and so forth. The Bowers pick too. I mean, the Bowers stuff is just, it's just such a layup. Doesn't it feel like? Very, very little worthy. The Kansas City Chiefs are just not all that interested in scoring fantasy points. And if you're not that interested in scoring fantasy points, you're probably not going to. All right. Well, I wanted to take Bijan. I am going to take him. It does feels like I'm just saying this right now from my gut. I think that Bijan is probably, if I had to do the early week skeleton key, I would say Bijan and Tyreek are in the early week skeleton key, and Kareem Hunt already went. I don't like that. God, quarterback does just kind of suck this week. Not really any of them I want to take. You know who I want to take. I want to take Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed is the early week skeleton key. There you go. Jayden Reed, ADP riser. You can lock that in right now. Jayden Reed's usage is the best on the team. I gotta switch to the running back tab. So Jayden Reed, he did have a down week this week, but look at these routes. Look at the targets per route run. The ADOT is good. The end zone targets are good. It's all the utilization score. It has gone down after the last 2 weeks. And Romeo Doubs, I'm not saying Doubs is unclickable this week, but all of this stuff to me, I think sets up for quite a good week from our boy Jayden Reed and Jordan Love. I mean, Jordan Love smashes every week. Jordan Love just throws 19 touchdowns a week, and we are going to select him here. I also think you can do. I did more 3 wide receiver teams than normal last week. I certainly think that you could work those in a bit more this week. But Jayden Reed. So Jayden Reed, I took him at the wide receiver 13. I mean, he is going to end up like the wide receiver 8 this week, in my estimation. And there are plenty of good scroll running backs, obviously. Dobbins, Javonte, Montgomery. How about Tank Bigsby? How about James Cook against the DK Metcalf list? How about James Conner? How about Brian Robinson Jr.? How about Tony Pollard again? I mean, it does feel it every week. Every week, honestly, it feels like there are 20 good running back plays and about 7 good wide receiver plays. So how do you construct? We're going to take Jordan Love, and then we need to find a semi-scroll running back. A lot of running backs. Man, I mean, who you go down, where is an unplayable running back? I guess you get to Chuba Hubbard before you say, I don't want to have any of that guy. I don't want to have any exposure. And by the way, you get so much value from this. After I make this pick, we will go look at the Battle Royale database. On this team, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to select James Conner, running back for the Arizona Cardinals, assuming that B. Holker does not take him. Yeah, I don't know if Quinion Mitchell had Neighbors in check. I think Daniel Jones had him in check. All right, James Conner. Now I want to show you guys. I want to show you guys something with the scroll running backs. So let's look at the week 7 user board, and let's just look at some of these guys. Let's look at how often James Cook was drafted. James Cook was on 3.1% of teams. Kareem Hunt was on 881 teams. Super low. Who else do we have? So just David Montgomery. So he was like the running back 8. 7.7% drafted. I mean, that seems insane. Who were some of the other running backs who were active last week? Joe Mixon. These are crazy. Barkley, obviously 16.7%. You know, but basically the point that I am making here is that Chase Brown was on 451 teams. I wonder how many of them were me. 3 of them were me. No money won. Chuba Hubbard. So the zooming out point that I'm trying to make here is you gain so much leverage from scrolling down just a little bit at running back. And you don't have to scroll very far. That's the other thing. Like, okay, here, Josh Jacobs is a really good example. So Josh Jacobs, I took him on 6 teams, classic. So he was on 1,700 teams compared to the maximal amount that he could. And he was obviously, he was a really good play. And he I believe he was like the running back 12 or something. Like you don't have to scroll that far, and you are gaining loads on the field. So let's go back in and try and get the 101. I would love to get the 101. I don't know. Doesn't it feel like to you guys that one of Barkley, Brees, or Henry does really end up mattering? Yeah, but I mean, this is totally the truth. If you scroll and they score twice, it's a smash, and the leverage is just insane. Like, look at these ownership projections that Brian has up from the Draft Caddy. 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. Way less Hunt. Swift super low, Jacobs super low, Dobbins super low, David Montgomery super low, and then no ownership projection basically on Bigsby, Cook, and Connor. So if you can get ahead, the other thing is getting ahead of this team. Chuba Hubbard from last week, a great example. If you are going to draft early in the week, like I do, getting ahead of the steam allows you to make way better combos. Now, obviously, you can always chase the steam up the board, when you're drafting Chuba Hubbard in the 3rd round, which is fine. I don't think there is like this crazy combinatorial advantage that you give up. But if you are going to be drafting early in the week, the move is to definitely someone said this in Discord, is drafting early in the week is about knowing what Leone is going to post on ETR, and then drafting on Thursday, Friday, Saturday is about knowing where Leone and ETR is wrong, right? That really is what it is about. And I think that is accurate, and I think that is a good philosophy to have, and that is basically more or less what I'm trying to accomplish. The 1, 2, 3 goes chalk. Henry, Hall, Barkley. I'm actually going to double tap wide receiver here. I'm loving these scroll running backs. That conversation we just had. I'm going to double tap. I am going to do AJ Brown here. Whatever. I will do AJ Brown, not like I want to ever go into a week with 0 AJ Brown. We're going to do AJ Brown, and we are going to do Tyreek Hill. Is Laporta back with no Jameson Williams? I don't know about back, but certainly he should be much more in line with what he's got last year, right? In terms of the route participation and I guess the route participation has been very good, right? I mean, you can't complain about this 81. He got injured in this game, 86%, 76% on the year, but look at his targets per route run, 10%. Let me compare that to last year. 23% targets per route run to 10% targets per route run. It's really incredible stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm actively looking to fade AJ Brown. It's more that like what's going to end up happening here is I'm going to take Jalen Hurts, because the other thing on to put a hat on top of a hat is I also don't want to have this huge Jalen Hurts position, and I also don't want to have a big Tua position. Like I kind of prefer Tyreek without Tua. If that makes sense. Like I kind of want Tyreek naked. I kind of want Achane naked. Like I don't always want him with Tua. I want to be, in general, I kind of want to be more diversified at quarterback is sort of a lesson that I've learned. Because the quarterback stuff is so unpredictable, so random. Of course, I'm not saying that AJ Brown is a bad pick. I am one of the original AJ Brown supporters. I've always been an AJ Brown supporter. That is my guy. I love him. But like last week, I had a huge position on him. I will probably have a less huge position on him. This week, Kareem Hunt goes. That is a smidgen annoying. I am going to take Travis Kelce. I mean, look, dude, like his routes and all that stuff is totally there. And you know what? I'm going to take DeAndre Swift on this one against the Commies. I probably won't have a ton of him. I will have way more Javonte Williams. Javonte to me looks like the best scroll on the board right now. Javonte is remember 2 weeks ago when Tony Pollard was the skeleton key, and I had you guys drafting him way ahead of the market. I think that is going to be Javonte for me this week. Also, Josh Jacobs is, man, these running backs, dude. The running backs are making me want to not draft any running backs early. Wide receivers early, tight ends early, running backs late. Feels like the meta this week. I do like DJ Moore, though, to be fair, I always like DJ Moore. I did think, though, Caleb Williams, like when I do the show with Brian and Dan, I was thinking like, oh, this is a Caleb Williams week. It's a good matchup. We get the two rookie quarterbacks firing against each other. Need to make sure that we are still doing. I know it's so true. I mean, Kamara has already broken a BR slate, and we are allowing, we are able to do so again. Okay. So Hurts went. So my options are Tua, Mahomes, uncorrelated naked guy, Jayden Daniels to set up for the swap. Now that's interesting. Jayden Daniels is week to week, but if he plays, you know what? That almost feels better. Actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and take Kamara. No, I'm gonna take Javonte. So, what do I do? Do I do Tua or Daniels? Well, just actually, you know what? Naked Jordan Love is probably fine. No, on this one, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and take Tua. I am just gonna go ahead and take Tua on this one. I won't do it. I won't do it a bunch. I got sniped on my guy here. which is gonna happen. So the Daniels questionable thing, how do you handle it this week? I suppose you probably just avoid it, because in general you want your quarterback correlated. It's going to be hard to control the correlation. But man, probably the right quarterback to scroll to is Kyler. Actually, you just get a crazy Kyler rushing game. I think we probably avoid Daniels this week. It just yeah. Joey Daniels in the chat says reports are Daniels is very much in doubt. It does feel like he probably doesn't play. But in general, you can use Daniels as a placeholder if you want. I suppose Jonathan Taylor. Really, the only placeholder guys are Evans and Metcalf this week. There's not a ton of early Q stuff. But I think we will probably avoid Daniels. Yeah, you could do Daniels unstacked. You can move to Anthony Richardson. No, I did the Anthony Richardson stuff last week. How drafted did Richardson get last week? Anthony Richardson, more teams than I would have thought. How many did I do? I did 10 Anthony Richardson teams. Wonder if any of them were any good. Well, I wasted a Gibbs team with Anthony Richardson. Of course I did. So, I mean, Richardson is a pretty interesting question this week. What do you do with Anthony Richardson? He actually, I believe, I need to look this up. I'm fairly certain that he had his most design rushes of a game ever last week. And in fact, yes. Yep. 14 for 56 as a rusher. His most ever rushes in a game last week. Tied for his career high. That's so weird. He has had 56 rushing yards 3 times. So, it's so tempting to be like, all right, we're done with Richardson. He stinks. He can't complete any passes. He's the worst. Oh my God, I can't watch this guy play. All he does is fumble. He's just fucking around. He stinks. And then you look at that and you're like, man, you might get, you're going to get a ton of rushing attempts out of him. How can we skip it? I think like what I did last week. I did him on 10 teams. I think I might want to do that this week. I'm going to do Amon-Ra St. Brown with no JMO. And I am going to do Drake London. Again, why am I doing this? I think it's the week of the scroll down at running back. That's really, at least that's how I feel right now. And that is my early week skeleton key, is that it is sort of the week of the scroll down at running back. Like, compare the theoretical. I mean, let's look at these fake projections that Underdog has loaded in. They have Ken Walker for 14.6. They have Josh Jacobs, who the draft caddy has being drafted 20% of the time, at 13.5. You scroll all the way down. Let's scroll all the way down to Tony Pollard, projected for 11. It's and these are obviously these are fake projections, but it does show you why that would be an interesting strategy. Well, I would love to get Brock Bowers at this turn. Yeah, Kamara just went undrafted in the last one we did. Waiting on running back is very easy, and I don't feel nearly as strong about waiting at wide receiver, right? Especially because there are so many question marks early in the week. Although, again, this does leave us a little bit thin at quarterback. St. Brown and London. I will admit this, that on a Tuesday, I do not have quarterback solved. And of course, all the tight ends go, well, not all of them. We get McBride, where you're going to take McBride, and we are going to take Kareem Hunt. And now we can take Kyler, we could take Kirk, we could take Goff, and there's going to be another running back that we like. Terrence says that that Chase is his 101. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, doesn't it just feel like Tyreek when ETR publishes their stuff on Wednesday night, or what is it, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. or something, or Thursday morning really early, it feels like the direction that we are heading in is Tyreek is going to steam all the way up into the first round, and I wonder if he actually passes Chase and Brown. He will pass AJ Brown, I bet. Yeah, I really like DJ Moore as well. So this is always what happens. You know, I got to be honest with you guys. I was pretty discouraged from last week. You know, just all the injuries. My DraftKings cash game team stinks. I get killed in the BR streets. You know, just absolutely killed in the BR streets. And I was like, oh God, do I even really want to draft? Do I even really want to? And I'm like, oh yeah, shit, I do. I mean, look at this last 2 weeks. 341 drafts last week with 421. Getting $30 back in the Wildcat. I mean, that is just brutal. Just brutal stuff. Yeah, Higgins is strong, of course. All right, yeah, well, we missed out on all the quarterbacks that we like. Well, wait, no, we didn't. I just maybe would have done Naked Hurts. I'm going to take Achane on this team because it's not a Tyreek team. The Achane usage has been better than even the biggest Achane bowl could have imagined. And you know what? Whatever. Let's take Kyler. Let's take Kyler on this team. Kyler Murray, Kareem Hunt, Devon Achane, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, and Trey McBride. Let's just compare the utilization for Achane this year to last year. So this year, Achane in 2023, Achane ended the season with 36% of the rush attempts, 42% of the snaps, 12% of the team's targets, had only 19% of the team's rushes inside the 5, was not playing very much long down and distance, was not playing very many 2-minute snaps. You know, he really, I mean, he was obviously very efficient, but he was not anything close to a workhorse. Now let's move to 2024. Look at this. Snaps higher, rush attempts higher, routes higher, targets per route run higher, short down and distance snaps higher, 42% of the inside the 5 rushes, 60% or 51% of the long down and distance, 65% of the 2-minute drill. Look at his utilization score. I mean, my God. Actually, let's look at his utilization score at the running back position as a whole, because I'm thinking his cumulative utilization score is going to be quite high. Yeah, I mean, higher than James Conner, higher than Derrick Henry, higher than Ramondre, higher than Javonte, James Cook, Zach Moss. I mean, that is, yeah, that is pretty strong stuff. I won't. I promise I won't. That will be on tomorrow's show with Liam. That will be the vibe tomorrow. Check the BR. Yeah, Achane having sick usage and the nut worst advanced rushing stats is not. Yeah, no, it's really. But I think we will get back on the right track this week with Achane. I mean, you could definitely argue Achane and Tyreek could be on teams together this week. I mean, just imagine everything gets right in the world again, and we have the Miami Dolphins scoring 47 points or whatever. God, that would be beautiful. All right, well, we're gonna find a wide receiver here after we take Barkley. Moore I like, Brian Thomas Jr. I like. Man, the scrolls get pretty thin pretty quick. Dobbs seems fine. Mooney seems fine. Don't want to take Jameson Williams. Oof. These wide receiver scrolls, man. Wide receiver scrolls look a little dire. I'm not liking the looks of that. Most weeks you can kind of talk yourself into a lot, but then it's like Tank Dell, Devonta. I mean, these guys are literally coming off air balls. Marvin Harrison, I mean, I guess. Man. All right, well. Welcome to the team. I'm taking Barkley. I think Barkley over Henry. Dell could be a skelly key play. I mean, yeah, it's not like Tank Dell like went to 0 or anything. You know, I mean, Tank Dell's usage for the season is completely fine, right? Absolutely no issues with the usage. Yeah, the thing with Olave getting a 50% target share is he might not be back. He still has not cleared the concussion protocol. Now you could treat him, so that is interesting, Hartman, is you could treat Olave like an early week Q tag, and either you get Olave, who is a really good play, right? I mean, against the Chargers, who will have this crazy target share, or you get the swap. And the swap might be good this week because we are drafting with like a relatively limited amount of information. So I'm going to do something that I'm not going to do a lot with this next selection. And I'm going to take Lamar Jackson against the Cleveland Browns. And I'll tell you why I'm going to do it. I am not particularly enthused with a lot of these value options at quarterback. I'm not going to want a ton of Josh Allen. And I am going to want Lamar Jackson teams. I'm going to want a good amount of Lamar Jackson teams. Maybe 10% of my teams or so, 10% of my drafts. I mean, Lamar, he freaking 5 passing touchdowns. The guy is unbelievable. Oh, gosh darn it. Sad day. Sad day to have to take Brock Bowers. I mean, who wants to do that? Who on earth would want to take Brock Bowers? Unbelievably. Yeah, that's the other thing. You definitely, like, drafting out of this spot, that's a good spot to take Lamar when you are intentionally fading. And not that I'm intentionally fading Henry. I will not be intentionally fading him. You definitely could argue the thing that I should have done there was I should have passed on Bowers and I should have taken Adams or one of the running backs so that I could set him up with Andrews or Likely. That's what you think, buddy. Time for you to learn Jameis Winston. Time for Terrence to learn Jameis Winston. But the Lamar stuff, I mean, he should. Why would he be going after Josh Allen? I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Seattle without Metcalf seems less likely to push anyone. But that's just me. Would love to select Davante Adams or Stephon Diggs with this next selection. We'll see if we have the opportunity to do so. Kind of a fun week, though. There are a lot of like literal mysteries to solve. Like, do you take a big stance on one of the scroll running backs? Who is the scroll wide receiver that you want? I am just going to select Davante Adams here. I think Davante Adams. I think Davante Adams is still a great player. So that's a pretty key part of this. The other thing on top of that is, the 2-5 Jets, man. Rodgers is getting that boy his touchdowns. He's getting that boy his numbers this week. All right, let's do. Okay, so Hunt is gone. Let's do a little scroll. Did DJ Moore get picked? DJ Moore did get picked. So let's do Brian Thomas Jr. Brian Thomas Jr., just a smash every single week. Should be a pass-heavy script. Brian Thomas Jr., a very good click. I wonder if people know how good Brian Thomas Jr. is. He is kind of like put together this crazy season, actually. 23%, so 0.23 targets per route run on a 12.9 ADOT. 29% of the air yards. Man, Brian Thomas Jr., I mean, in terms of targets per route run, like, he's got to be top 10 in football. Let's do minimum routes of 105, sure. Yeah, I mean, well, not as high as I thought, but like same targets per route run as CeeDee Lamb, better than Marvin Harrison, better than Tyreek, better than Metcalf, better than Adams, better than Davante. I mean, he's been incredible. All right, what scroll running back do we want? Javonte got taken on this one. Jonathan Taylor is a sort of interesting one, but I think he might be trending towards playing this week. Let's do on this one. I don't love Dobbins. I'm probably going to pass on Dobbins. Let's do James Cook. If I passed on... So I passed on Josh Allen for Lamar. Now, Cook definitely has some issues this week. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the utilization for him was not great with Ray Davis, but he did get the goal line work. He played, I think he outsnapped Ray Davis like 2.5 to 1 in the first half. So let's do the early week skeleton keys. Very simple. At quarterback, I think Lamar is your top skeleton key. And I think Kyler, the rushing has been better than it's been in a while. The scrambling looks awesome. So I think you are going to want to have Kyler and McBride. I think you're going to want to have Tyreek, Kyler, Achane, Kyler. Running back, super simple. There's two guys who are the skeleton key. Kareem Hunt and Devin Achane. Kareem Hunt, I would imagine, could even end up flipping Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, Kareem Hunt had 22 rushes and 3 targets last week. He almost had another touchdown. He got tackled on like the half-inch yard line. If you want a little bit of motivation, do you guys remember the Raiders had the Mahomes Kermit doll? I wonder if they keep trying to pour it on. Not really that the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs are all pouring that on. But Achane is almost more of a glaring skeleton key. Achane, when Tua was healthy, was a borderline first round pick. I mean, he did score. He had back-to-back. He had back-to-back 23, 29-point games. Running back 3, running back 2. Now, obviously, he's been much worse without him. But I would like to get to maybe 25% Achane this week. Wide receiver is a bit more complex. Tyreek, I think, is obviously, he should maybe be the 101. I think you want a lot of Tyreek. I think that Tyreek, DJ Moore are going to be your top options there. And then I think Brian Thomas Jr. is your other one. I think that your pretty clear skeleton keys at wide receiver are Tyreek, DJ Moore, and Brian Thomas Jr. I would expect all of them to rise. I would expect the ETR projections that come out on Wednesday night, Thursday morning to be very high on them. And I think that they are all in good spots. And I think that they're all those guys are universally undervalued. Tight end. Yeah, these top 4 guys, Bowers, Kelsey, McBride, and Njoku, you're going to want a lot of them. But Mark Andrews should not be I mean, not even an ownership projection here in the draft caddy. I don't think likely does either. So Andrews and Lamar Andrews. How could you ever complain about having Lamar Andrews back in your life? Kincaid might finally do something this week, buddy. I will believe it when I see it. Feels fairly unlikely to me. So guys, that was our early week look at how to win in Battle Royale. We drafted a couple teams. You could simply scroll down at running back. Quarterback, great week to wait at quarterback. We got Kyler Murray late. We got Mark Andrews late. So that outlined the early week guide to winning in Battle Royale in week 8. I hope that was useful. I hope that you guys had a good time. And we will be back tomorrow. Chess Liam, please like the video. Comment below your early week skeleton key. Maybe you'll help me win $50,000. So please comment below your skeleton key to winning Battle Royale in week 8. And I'll be back tomorrow. Adios, everybody. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King.